Chapter 12, Raid.
So, you're going to go? There's nothing I can do to stop you?
I use you, Yugi, so that I could defeat an enemy. That's all. The next time we meet, I may decide to attack you. So long, Yugi. If you make it out alive, we'll probably meet again. I mean, it's the entire point of the anime. What am I doing? I'm just that frustrated having to team up with you again. I mean, we did beat Loomis and Umbra as a team, but honestly, I prefer working alone. We'll probably wind up battling each other because it's the anime. We have to. Working together, Kaiba and Yugi managed to elude the forces Scott sent after them. However, Kaiba does not want to join forces with Yugi and has decided to move on and strengthen his forces. Kaiba's exhausted army is having trouble facing this new enemy and rebuilding its ranks. Kaiba's forces learn that two very large supply units from Scott's army will be passing through Uravi Canyon. Kaiba decides to attack these units and steal the bulk of Scott's supplies. Red 2 standing by, all for lit and in the green. Welcome back to YuGiOh the Falsebound Kingdom. And once again we are still stuck without Mokuba and we're still dragging Martha's lifeless body along. Absolutely no idea why we still have him. But we have to take Pegasus along, but we might as well flesh out our ranks. Rex performed admirably in the last battle, as did Labyrinth Ruler. We got some good levels into the team. Kaiba's team is doing spectacularly. He can probably take a break from the fight because he's been handling things very well. We have a pretty solid setup for everyone, and we still don't have any new monsters to wind up getting. So we can just continue on our merry way and take down our opponents. Let's get on to the battle, shall we?
It's a raid! Send for reinforcements quickly!
Sorry, I can't allow that. Take them, men!
We'd better be quick, Kaiba. We won't be able to carry off these supplies once the reinforcements get here.
Alright, so we have to take control of Bazon. Let's see. Bones actually head down there. Pegasus, follow him in. Weevil. Where are our bases? Vralson, Bazon, Craw Valley. Who's above the Craw Valley? Rex, head there. Labyrinth Ruler, head over here. This should be a fairly quick mission. We just have to home in on the enemy and take that position. Kaiba should head over here. Right. Weevil, get going. So, it does seem that quite a few missions in Kaiba's story are focused around fairly quick attacks. So we'll be able to handle things fairly easily, all things considered, because... Wow, Big Insect's actually got some pretty good power to it. So, our enemies. Probably want to take out Battle Ox first. So yeah, I think you are meant to play Yugi's first. It is meant to be the sort of major introductory story. And you get a lot more monsters to work with from actually taking on Yugi's story first. With Kaiba's, you will have only very specific monsters to work with. But we do get a fair bit of an advantage out of using all of these monsters because you often wind up with, well, stronger ones. So Pumpkin is just wasted. 2 AP only powering itself up. It does get a 1000 power boost though, which makes it pretty capable. But let's see. Yeah, it's capable, but it's not going to be the biggest threat. Because it's only got a couple of attacks to use that with. If I'm going to be honest, Pumpkin's special isn't very good. You might as well just use a violet crystal, because you'll power up Knight Adept monsters and wind up giving them an extra AP, or you can use Dark Energy and power up all your Darklands monsters. So, I mean, you do have to be very careful with them, but things like that only cost 1 AP. Pumpkins costs 2. Well... Well... Okay. Artificial stupidity at its finest. Unbelievable. Like, okay, that is actually a major disadvantage to confusing enemies because they don't do stupid stuff like that. Sure, you'll be able to shut down healers, and I recommend that. But they don't do stupid stuff like that. Like, Pumpkin powered itself up, but it wasted its AP. What? What? Just what? That's all I've got. Just what were they thinking? And admittedly, that always seems to be the problem with any AI that just sort of randomly chooses its actions. You don't necessarily get the most intelligent choice out of things. Ah, good. Level up for Weevil. Because it's a problem with any AI that gets to effectively randomly choose its actions. Right, Weevil, move back. Stop Pegasus for a little bit, and then take on these guys. So we may be able to handle reinforcements if they show up, but... Oh, I'm going to leave Pumpkin alone. I'm going to leave Pumpkin alone. Let's see. Because, like I was saying, choosing random actions often winds up backfiring spectacularly. Because it's like the Pokemon games. Okay, you can understand that wild Pokemon might just pick moves at random. But it doesn't excuse the same thing when trainers do it. Like when they should be using a super effective move, but they just wind up using something like Defense Curl or something like that. They'll pick some random move in their arsenal that really doesn't help their cause and just mess around with all of those. It's so bizarre. They'll so often pick really, really dumb results that just hinder them. Pumpkin has admittedly wisely decided not to use its special attack. Like, you never actually know if they're doing something for the sake of being actually competent, or if they're just sort of making it up as they go along. And it's a problem with pretty much any game, really. Like, they'll pick the wrong moves, they'll pick the wrong opponents, they'll do something that just doesn't seem to make any sort of logical sense from a player's standpoint. Ah, there we go. I was banking on it being willing to do that. See, now under normals, I forgot when I used I think it was Violet Crystal. The Knight Adept monsters were powered up by it, and an enemy Blackland Fire Dragon got a power up back when I was doing Yugi's story. So I plan around things like this. Like we saw this with the whole Power of Nature thing when I used Taya's team back in Chapter 20 of Yugi's story. The enemy insisted on using Power of Nature and wound up strengthening Taya's team. It was just a shambles. They won't necessarily consider things like that. Like the AI, probably one of the perfect examples I've got of artificial stupidity is I mentioned horde battles a while ago and how funny it is when a wild Geodude uses Earthquake or Magnitude and takes out all its colleagues. Like, there is absolutely no coordination in horde battles. You can have chains of magnitudes that wind up wiping out an entire team. There's some artificial brilliance in the form of things like Zangoose and Seviper attacking each other. And there's one that's just sort of brilliance on the part of the developers, because when you wind up running into hordes of Trevenant in the forests near Snowbell City and Pokemon Village, sometimes you will actually find a Pseudo-Woodo in among the horde of Trevenants. You're not fooling anyone, Pseudo-Woodo, but it's a lovely little nod to the lore anyway. So it's little things like that, it's little things like the whole magnitude. It's matters like that which just wind up causing problems for the AI. They will sometimes do incredibly stupid things, but at the same time they also have the ability to effectively see certain things and pretty much cheat their way into success. Like, they'll usually make up for any distinct lack of strategic knowledge by being able to game the system. Where is our... There we are. Like, I've mentioned Fog of War earlier, how the AI can pretty much always see through that. It's not bothered by Fog of War at all. There are things like SNK games and various fighting games where the AI can basically read all your move inputs. What does Semot have? Okay, so he's not going to be that much of a challenge. So we're up to our boss fight already as Bakura Box wanders its way in. Didn't need Kaiba, but then again he's had a lot of good battles. So, Semot kind of looks like Martha's brother. I wonder how he's going to wind up reacting to realizing we've been dragging his brother's corpse around with us for some reason. I'm not even sure why we still have it. It's just sort of there, it's absolutely reeking, it's lost bits. But we've still insisted on dragging him along the way. Most of the time the AI will make up for any disadvantages it has in terms of overall intelligence and strategy by basically just being able to abuse a lot of... No, we don't want the crap. Want to hit that. It basically gets to abuse a whole lot of weird perks in exchange for being stupid. Like, it can, in some games, it can automatically gather a whole lot of resources really easily. It will wind up reading your control inputs. It's always got better handling, or it can take set paths on specific racetracks and not have to worry. In Mario Kart 64, it didn't go anywhere near the item boxes, but it could use certain items at random. Ironically, this actually tended to make things fairer because the blue shell generally wasn't in its item pool. And on top of that, the usual assortment of items weren't all that great because red shells didn't actually exhibit proper homing. Red shells were kind of useful, but the problem was that they tended to take the shortest possible path to your target, and they didn't actually check if there were walls in the way. So you'd fire a red shell. If your opponent was a long way ahead, it'd basically take a very sharp turn and ram into the wall, which, as you might expect, was decidedly unhelpful. Lightning bolts would still pop up at... Man, Millennium Golem is not having a good day. Alright, we'll start pouring the heat on Flame Swordsman. Maybe force it to start healing a little bit. Because that will cut it out of attacking us. Millennium Golem hasn't done much. So yeah, that was an interesting matter when it came to Mario Kart 64. In the original Super Mario Kart, the AI didn't get items, but it had an unlimited supply of specific items which only it could use. Like, Yoshi could drop eggs that essentially functioned like shells. Bowser had certain shells he could leave behind. Donkey Kong Jr. had the banana. And, let's see, yeah. So there was Yoshi... Bowser had a fireball. Peach and Toad had mushrooms that would shrink you if you wound up running in, kind of like if you'd been hit by a lightning bolt. And Mario and Luigi got stars. Heaven help you if Mario and Luigi were your rivals, because you would be relentlessly hunted down. The AI also ran on very specific paths. They didn't have to worry about handling, because they were programmed to travel on a set path, which meant that you could actually drop banana peels and the like in the path and screw things up for them. Now, it was also worth noting that in a way, you only had to deal with 1 or 2 characters using items against you, compared to later games where the general AI cheating, the incredible rubber banding, their ability to conjure items out of nowhere, was replaced with item spam, at its absolute worst in Mario Kart Wii. So it's kind of weird to think that some of the older systems were fairer, and that the Virtual Console releases of Super Mario Kart actually advertised the fact that Blue Shell didn't exist in the game as a bonus. But yeah, basically, very good examples of the AI getting a whole lot of perks, even though a lot of the time they're also immensely stupid. They basically have to cheat rather than creating competent strategies. And there we go. Well, we've got a few more items, and Kaiba's team is getting better equipped. Has he actually realized that Mokuba has gone missing? I very much doubt it. I mean, he probably has realized in-game, but he probably doesn't care, because it's Kaiba. Anyway, we're all done with that, and we can move on to the next mission where we will finally meet some monsters. Thank you very much for joining me. Till next time, this is Red 2 returning to base.